but as you're hearing this, we are not live.
Yeah.
We're probably doing something else at the moment.
It was recorded live.
Right.
If we're opening up by addressing the audience, I'll go ahead. I'll shake things up a bit and go ahead and introduce the podcast.
Ooh,
How about that?
throw 'em a little curveball.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is going to be episode 55 of the Thicc Bois podcast. Thank you for being here. We're doing a morning time recording. Which are you okay? What's going on?
Yeah, I
over
just
there?
yawned.
That was a yawn. Your mouth wasn't open.
I know.
I didn't know what that was. Yeah, the past couple of episodes have been we're doing like late night recordings. So this is one of the first, or not one of the first, but this is a early morning recording that we haven't done in quite some time.
So the energy might be a little different.
Yeah, we might be a little bit low.
Yeah, a little low energy.
A little calm. Low energy.
Really low energy.
There was something going on with Joe Biden recently. Something about his garage. The majority of my news knowledge comes from memes.
Right.
Like learning secondhand through memes. So, do you know anything about that?
From what I'd heard, I guess the story goes that I heard is that he left classified documents in his garage next to his Corvette.
Nice.
So
where
I
you keep
think
those?
that's sort of my extent of what happened. I think there's some people like, was it the press secretary or whatever?
Yeah.
I think there were like some news anchors that were burning her pretty good while she was up there. So I think that's sort of, I don't know if anything came of it, but.
It wouldn't matter if it wouldn't matter if anybody does anything. It doesn't matter.
No, nothing.
Nothing's going to happen to anyone.
Yeah. Nothing matters at all for anything.
I saw the from what I was picking up on was they dinged Donald Trump for having classified documents in his house, but he wasn't president anymore.
Right.
So I kind of see where like what are you doing with this?
Yeah.
Why do you have that? But if Joe Biden is the president. It's like it would make sense that he would have that stuff, but not just kind of sitting in his garage.
Not just like next to like a fucking oil pan or something.
Yeah, got a fucking weed eater resting on top of it. But I was, I was looking at the way people were discussing.
Yeah, discussing is a very light term for
having a
what
discussion
they were doing.
about this, and it kind of reminded me of when the whole like Twitter files thing happened and how everybody was treating each other then. It's like it's like either camp. It doesn't matter which. It doesn't matter if something bad happens to them, as long as it happens to the other people as well.
Right.
It's like, I don't care if we all lose, as long as it means you lose too.
Yeah, right. As long as you lose harder than I lose.
It's just like, I'm taking you down with me.
It's like, I'll see you in hell.
It's like, me personally, I would prefer it if we all won. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to one day wake up and there's something good on the news?
I just don't think that that's how the zeitgeist works. It's all just bad news all the time.
Every day, bad news all the time. There's nothing good ever.
Yeah, it's like you just imagine like sitting on the couch and like they give you some bad news and you go, oh, and they go, oh, but there's worse news.
Like they're not gonna be like, they're not gonna come out and be like, we negotiated a peace between North Korea and Russia and China, and we're all going to work together to better humanity. Here's our 12-step program, how we're going to do this.
Our mission statement.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
Right.
There's never going to be a thing where North Korea's like, hey, I just want to address the world and say I'm sorry for all the atrocities that we've committed. We're going to do better.
No, they're not going to do that.
It's not going to happen.
No, not going to do that.
It's just, but can it not happen is the thing. Is it too far gone?
Well, it just seems to be that regardless of sort of how the government is structured or who is running it is like power corrupts completely.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what is it they say? Power corrupts completely and total power corrupts.
Is absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have like a dictator,
well,
then,
that's like the worst of it. That's
Right.
like as bad as it can get.
Right.
That's like a brain tumor.
on the nation.
Yeah. A president is kind of like a oddly shaped mole.
You know, and then the Congress and Senate and everybody, they're sort of like skin lesions.
I just want some good news, man. just anything. Just tell me something nice for once.
Right.
You know?
I think you kind of have to go find that stuff.
Yeah, you have to really go out
You have
of
to
your
go
way.
like some Facebook page that like that's sort of their deal.
Yeah.
Like we're like the good news.
The good news.
Right.
I want to make it. We should make a Twitter account called "Is there any good news today?"
Yeah.
And just every day, like, no good news yet. Keep you updated.
There's just nothing on the page. There's no posts.
You know, in addition to like all the bad news too, is like I hate all like the cock teasing of like, you know, all the like the nothing burgers. Like we were building up this huge big case against this. Everybody knows he's a problem kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then
Are you talking about
nothing.
Epstein?
Well, him.
Well, he got suicided. But
Yeah, well, something did happen to him. Yes. But you know, he's kind of like a cave-in, right?
Right.
Everybody we wanted
it's
was
a
back in the cave.
conspiracy theory
Yeah.
that he died, that he did not suicide himself.
You know, and then there's the whole Galactic Federation thing. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about that like 2 years ago.
Right.
And then,
Yeah, that just kind of went away.
yeah. But the craziest thing about that was that, like...
It was even a deal.
It was even a thing. It was the story broke from that guy that was like he was like an Israeli general or something like that.
Yeah, he was like an Israeli general
Yeah.
who then like was the head of their space program at some point.
Yeah, so not some quack.
No.
It was like a real
This guy
dude.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And then Donald Trump said,
He's like, oh, yeah.
yeah, he's like, yeah, we've been working with the Martians.
And then it all just kind of like,
And then it just went away.
do you think, what if it's real and like the whole time everybody's like, they're like,
like that picture of George Bush being told about 9/11. He's like leaning at him, shut the fuck up, Mr. President. I mean, at this point, I feel like, you know, even if there was like a press statement or something where they came out and they're like, yeah, aliens are real, here's one right now, and they bring him up on stage and he's like, and then like everybody would talk about it for a week and then just be on to the next
they'd be
thing.
back to the people in the insane asylum throwing shit at one another.
Yeah, like which TikTok star is releasing a sauce this week?
Yeah.
Speaking of TikTok. TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, I saw this video where these people were in like a mall or something, and they were going up to random people and asking them, what are your opinions on what even was the person's name? It was like Scrungus Bungus or something like that. It was Alex Earl. I think that was the name, Alex Earl. So they would go and be like, what do you think about Alex Earl, who apparently is a TikTok star?
All right.
And everybody that they went up to were like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And the people were like doing the video recording were like, oh my God, this is crazy. No, but how do you not know who Alex Earl is?
This is like, because I don't have Chinese spyware on my phone.
Yeah, because I don't fucking use TikTok. There's this whole new wave of internet celebrities.
I don't know any of them.
And I don't know a goddamn one of them. I saw a picture not long ago where one of them had set up like a meet and greet at some convention. No one came to see them, but they had millions of followers, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Apparently means nothing.
Yeah, I've seen that before where we have like internet celebrities go places, and like of course they're getting like millions of views like on their posts or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they show up at a convention and nobody's there. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes you wonder, it's like, how are they getting this kind of engagement if, you know...
I would imagine a good bit of it's probably bot farms.
I would say so. I think that it is.
Like, have you ever seen the pictures of, like, the bot farms in China?
Yeah.
Well, they have, like, one person sitting at a desk that's got, like, 140 iPhones on it.
Yeah.
And they're just clicking posts. What a fucking hell that must be.
Oh, God. This is like this person's like mental state is just not okay.
Yeah. And then like there's a whole music side of TikTok too, where like, I don't remember the dude's name, but there was this like rapper recently who was doing a tour, and a lot of people did go to see him, but they only knew him because of like this soundbite from one of his songs that got used in a lot of TikToks.
No.
So everybody went to go see him, and I guess he played that song, and everybody was singing along to the part that they knew from the TikTok videos, and then when it was over, they just got dead quiet. They didn't know anything past that. And the guy on stage was like, all of a sudden, you can see it on his face. He's like, uh-oh. These aren't actual fans. They just came here for that part.
He just plays it over and over and over.
They probably would have fucking loved it.
Yeah. It was like a 60-minute set with him just doing the same line.
Ugh. Gross. You always seem like, have you ever been to like a concert for like a band? Not like, a festival or whatever, where they have to kind of keep their sets pretty short.
Yeah.
But, about a third to a halfway through, you're kind of like, wow, this is taking a long time.
Yeah.
It's
I think festivals are best because of that.
Yeah, well, yeah, festivals are. I would say so, because you can kind of just ping pong around and go and kind of just do it at your own leisure.
Right. It's like if there's a band that's playing that I don't want to hear, then I'm sure that like in one of the other stages there might be something that I do want to hear.
Yeah.
That, and you get to experience like new music that you might not have been exposed to.
Right.
Which is good too.
It's like I had never heard of Miss May I until we went to.
They were really good.
Yeah, until we went to Rockville. They're a little bit screamo, for my tastes, but I do like them. Did you listen to that video that I posted about that metal song that I found on YouTube? For anybody that doesn't know, there was on my personal Facebook, I had posted a link to this YouTube video. It's good because like while I'm working, I'll just listen to music on YouTube and just kind of let it go through stuff. And sometimes you come up with something good. Sometimes you come up with a real stinker. And this one video pops up, and it starts out, and it's got this really like slow, chuggy, just like dirty riff. And I'm like, ooh, I'm like making stank face at my desk. Well, then the vocals kick in. And he sounds exactly like the fucking Quiznos rat. As a matter of fact, I'll take a risk here. Here's a short little clip from the song. And then here's the Quiznos rat singing. And then there you go. So you can see why.
Is Quiznos even a thing anymore?
I don't think so.
I haven't seen a Quiznos in forever.
If they are, they're probably like Toys R Us at this point, where it's just like little like standalone stores.
Yeah.
They're not. They probably don't have like an overhead thing anymore. Same thing happened to Crystal's. Crystal went bankrupt.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah, and so like any Crystal stores that you see are now like just kind of like this self-owned thing. They don't really answer to like a hierarchy anymore.
Well, I wonder how they're getting their product in if they're not, because isn't it most of the time corporate takes care of like the purchasing of like the food and they send it to the franchise?
I would assume
location?
so. I would think like
You just like keep going until you run out of food, and it's like, well, I guess that's it.
just fizzle out. I think I would assume that the way it works is like, so if you have a franchise like that, and it goes bankrupt, they probably offer to like a severance pack to the franchise owners.
No.
I would assume that's written in a contract somewhere.
No.
And they probably want to liquidate everything, get as much cash back as they can, and then just move on to the next thing. Because all those bigwigs and higher-ups, they're not going to hurt.
No.
No, they're going on to the next thing.
They're getting a golden parachute.
Yeah, they're totally fine. But they would probably also offer the franchise owner, like, hey, if you want to keep this thing going, by all means, go ahead.
No.
You know, everything you make will go straight to you. But at the same time, now you've got to worry about, getting your, taking care of your overhead, getting your product in and all that stuff. It's like if Chick-fil-A ever went bankrupt and I was franchising a Chick-fil-A, I want no fucking part of that. I do not want to be the guy having to hold this thing together.
No. I'm trying to think of like some other chain like fast food places that like Schlotzsky's. I never see Schlotzsky's anymore. Like I hardly saw them before, but
what the fuck even is that?
Schlotzsky's used to be one in Douglasville.
Schlotzsky's?
Yeah, Schlotzsky's Deli. And it was, where the Jersey Mike's is at over there now?
Is it across from
there's like
Golden Corral?
There's so it used to be in that area right there. It was a Schlotzsky's Deli. And it said Schlotzsky's on the front, and it was in white, and it was in like a black background.
I kind of remember that.
Right.
Were they on the far left-hand side of that building? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I do remember that now.
And that used to be like a franchise like thing or whatever. But that's not, you don't see them anymore.
Well,
and I'm sure that was more like a northeastern thing.
Yeah.
It sounds very like northeastern.
It does. Fast food restaurants on the whole are kind of, I guess with the exception of Crystal, they're kind of a sure bet. Like they don't often
fail. Right.
Like case in point, the Taco Bell in town.
Right.
In the middle of town is the worst Taco Bell ever.
How many inspections have they failed at this point?
Like so many.
Right.
It's a KFC Taco Bell combo, and like they are so bad. The service is so repugnant that they've been on the news several times. It's so fucking awful. But if that one is still standing, I mean,
right.
That's they got to be like rock bottom. Like if you go past them, then you're done.
There's nothing left.
Yeah.
It's just the abyss.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with Hardee's. Do you ever see anybody go to Hardee's?
No, not that one in town.
I whenever I go to like I'm driving around or whatever, and I see a Hardee's. I never see anyone there.
No.
But then you have these places like Popeyes or
you want to talk about bad fucking service?
Yeah.
Popeyes is the fucking worst.
They are. Every Popeyes
the worst
I have ever been to has had awful service.
Yes. None of it's good.
Everyone is rude. You are waiting forever.
Right.
The worst one was over in Douglasville, like when I was doing DoorDash. Like, I made the mistake of picking up a DoorDash order from Popeyes a few times. That is an hour-long ordeal.
Yep.
Just trying to get through that line and get the food and get the fuck on.
Yep. Did I tell my story about the Popeyes incident that I had when I was doing DoorDash? So I was picking up a Popeyes order in town, the new one they put up. It was only like a couple months old at that point.
The one across from Quick Trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I like pull up to the, like, first of all, I wait like in line for 30 minutes before I even like get to the speaker to be like, hey, I'm here for a DoorDash pickup.
Of course, right.
And of course it's like 8 o'clock at night. The lobby should be open, but they have locked the doors so that nobody can get in.
Yeah.
And so I finally get up there and I wait for like, I don't know, 15 minutes before somebody like acknowledges that I'm sitting there.
Oh, you're just sitting at the speaker waiting forever.
I'm just sitting at the speaker waiting. And there's still all these cars in front of me. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm here for a DoorDash order. And they said, okay, pull up. And so I pull up, and it takes like another 20 minutes just to get up there. So at this point, I've been there for like an hour and 5 minutes.
For just one order.
Right. And so I'm sitting there, and I look at the window because I'm in my car.
Yeah.
And I can see the person at the thing has got their back turned to me. And it looks like they're talking to somebody. And I kind of look up, and there's a person that's freestyle rapping in the window, and there's another person that's twerking next to them. And I'm looking at them, and this goes on for like 10 minutes, and I don't say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there looking, and then the person turns around and opens the window, and they say, "What do you want?" I was just kind of flabbergasted. I didn't know what to say.
Like, I'm impressed by your ineptitude.
Right. And I was like, "I'm here for the DoorDash pickup," and they go, "Oh yeah." And then they hand me the order, and of course the order's fucking wrong.
Of course.
No, it's not right.
Of course it is. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like...
And then I was texting the person I was taking it to the whole time, and at the end of it, they're like, "I canceled it. I don't want it."
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry. Yeah, so when I did DoorDash like that, I would always go out of my way. I would text the person when I got to the restaurant, because I know DoorDash will automatically update most of the time. But I'll send them a text. I'm like, "Hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm picking up your order from wherever." And then, if there's anything going on, I would keep them updated.
Right.
And a lot of times people appreciated that. They're like, "Okay, well, thank you for letting me know that, you know, they're still chasing the chicken in the parking lot in order to kill it." Like, I had a Zaxby's order one time that I waited like an hour and 10 minutes for.
One in Douglasville? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't go to it. There was a couple places I blacklisted. I wouldn't go to them.
Yeah, so Zaxby's, Popeyes, Steak and Shake, and McDonald's.
Yep.
Really, anything that was on that right-hand side of Highway 5, it is impossible to get in and out of that parking area. Just because the infrastructure in that whole intersection right there.
It was not built for that.
No. It's like one of the worst like designed intersections ever. And they put in 2 extra like turn lanes on Highway 5 to kind of like, negate a lot of that, and all it does is back that lane up too.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all awful. But yeah, so I had that experience. That was always fun. There was, for the most part, if I kind of stuck in our hometown and didn't go to Douglasville, I didn't make quite as much money. Yeah. But my nights weren't as bad.
You had a nicer experience.
Yeah, I had a better experience.
There's a trade-off. Yeah, I would usually do Douglasville just because it.
Well, the amount of people that's in the area. That you're constantly going to be getting orders.
Constantly coming through.
Whereas, like when I was doing our hometown, it was sort of. Sometimes I'd wait for 45 minutes before I got an order, but most of the times the orders were better.
Yeah. There would be nights where, like, the orders that were coming through, because the way, in case anybody's never done it before, the way DoorDash works is you have an order that pops up on your phone, and you have the choice to accept it or decline it, and it'll tell you how much you'll make for completing that particular order, how far you have to drive, about how long it'll take. The general rule of thumb was to not accept anything under $8.50.
It depends. Like if it was like an order that took like 2 miles to get there, and it was like $6.50.
Oh yeah, I'd do that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It'd take me no time to get it done.
But the way I would usually minimize it is like by at least $1 a mile.
Right.
Sometimes DoorDash would only show you what they're gonna pay you. They wouldn't tell you the total, like with the tip attached to it.
Most of the time, it was $8.50. $8.50 is where it would like max it out. It wouldn't really show you anything above that.
So there would be nights where every order's coming through $8.50, $8.50, $8.50, and I'm like, it's fucking rolling in the dough, baby. Like I'd have nights where like I think like the most I ever made in one night was like $325.
That's a lot of money,
and that's for about 7 hours.
Yeah,
and once you factor in like wear and tear on your car and gas and mileage and all that stuff, is kind of it's not that.
That's for future Gary.
Yeah, it went all
Gary
that.
Now's got all this money.
But there would be nights where the orders are coming through is like $3 for 20 miles. And they're all kind of like that. And by the time, so when you decline an order, say, I don't want to do that one, it kicks it to the next person and adds 25 cents to it. So it has to be kicked 4 different times before there's a dollar amount added to it.
Yep.
So there have been several instances where an order comes up and it'll be like, $8.50, for 6 miles for McDonald's. And I'll be like, well, that kind of hits all the marks.
Yeah.
I'll do that one, okay.
Right.
And I go and I get it, and I look at like the way when the order was placed, like on the bag, and it was from like 7 hours ago. It was like he's been there all day long. Because what happens is the person who placed the order didn't want a tip.
Right.
They put no tip.
Yep. No tip, no trip.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I know people feel the way they feel about tipping.
Right.
But when it comes to DoorDash and Grubhub and all these delivery services, you have to understand that your driver is determining whether or not you're going to get your food.
Right. Well, you're a contract worker. You are not an employee of DoorDash.
Yeah, they're determining whether or not you're going to get your food based on whether or not you tip.
Right.
So it's not like a regular restaurant where you determine if you want to tip after you get your food.
Right.
So it was a very interesting power balance there.
Right. Oh yeah. There was and what I started doing was that I would have 2 apps running at one time. So like I would run Uber Eats and I would also run DoorDash at the same time. What you got going on there?
I don't know what that was. There was a weird light on the lid of my cup, and then it disappeared.
We were talking about aliens.
Oh, that might be a brain tumor. Sorry, that really tripped me up.
But I would run 2 apps at the same time. So I would run Uber Eats and DoorDash.
Yeah.
And I would just accept the one that was best.
I thought about doing that, but I never did.
You can't get in trouble unless you're running 2 orders at the same time off separate apps.
Yeah. Well, because they're going to be tracking you.
Right.
Because, like, there'd be times where, like, if I was delivering an order and I kind of knew, like, a better way to get to the place than what DoorDash was telling me, it would freak out. I'd be like, why are you not going the way you need to go?
Right.
I'm just like, just chill, honey. I know what I'm doing here. And one of the worst parts about doing it in Douglasville was Arbor Place Mall.
Oh, ugh.
And you had to be really careful because a lot of the restaurants that were out of the mall, like in their own buildings, were the same restaurants that were in the mall.
Right.
So you would have one pop up, like say Chick-fil-A. You'd have one pop up and it'd be like Chick-fil-A $10.50. And you're like, that's a banger. I'm doing that one.
Yep.
And so you click it and then it's like, go to Arbor Place Mall. And you're like, fuck!
That's why I was always very careful to look at it and be like, where is it located?
Yeah, I learned to do that pretty quick. Yeah. And also there are some areas in Douglasville you don't want to go to.
No.
Deliver food to.
Right.
Over there off of Chicago Ave.
Yeah.
So I would always be very careful about looking at where this food's going.
Right.
And if it's going over there, sorry, I'm not bringing that.
Some pretty sketchy places.
Yeah, pretty sketchy, like no street lights.
Right. I did one, I don't know where the fuck I was at. It took me to, and I remember I got out and ran up and dropped it threw the bag on the porch and took a picture, didn't turn the flash on.
It's like a dark picture. I had dropped one off one time, it was in this a rich neighborhood over there. I don't remember.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
It was a gated community,
Yep.
And every house in there had to be multiple $1 million.
Yeah.
And I was driving through, and I'm looking at all these golden palaces, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this place?"
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Why
this
would you live
existed.
in Douglasville?
Yeah. And I dropped off the order, and a dude in a suit, I'm assuming was a butler.
Yeah.
It's all I can think that he was.
The weekly review.
Yeah. Well, he was in a suit, and he was wearing the white gloves.
Yeah.
The whole butler thing.
Yeah.
And he grabbed the bag and he said thank you and he went back inside. And I was like, this place is something else.
What the hell's going on here?
So I went back and I got in my car and I completed the order, and that fucking person didn't tip.
That's so crazy.
Sorry, no tip. I got to pay the butler to pick up my DoorDash order.
There was one guy that I was off of Fairburn, so the 3rd Douglasville exit down.
Yeah.
Going down that way you would go down to the Atlanta airport.
Yeah.
And there's a subdivision way down that road. I made a left to get in there, and there was these massive houses in there.
Yeah.
And the guy, this is when they first started doing like the Papa John's like orders and stuff, like where you're taking pizzas and everything.
That's weird to me because Papa John's and all those pizza places have their own delivery service.
I guess if they get slammed, it's probably cheaper for them to outsource it than it is to pay like an hourly rate for a driver.
Yeah, but a lot of that cost falls back on the consumer because it's
True.
way more expensive to have a pizza delivered through a food service
right,
app.
but they don't care.
No, they go fuck.
Yeah, like, oh, you're going to use the app? Well, then you can pay for that too.
Yeah, it's your money.
Yeah. So, like, I came up and dropped it off. And so I dropped it, like, I rang the doorbell because it was like, hand me the food. So
Yeah.
I rang the doorbell, handed the guy the food. And just like this massive fucking guy like comes to the door.
Yeah.
He's like 6'5" and looks like he weighs like 300 pounds. And I was like, he looks oddly familiar.
Yeah.
I was like, where have I seen him before? And so I look, and he used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he was a former football player.
Wow.
And I was like, why in the fuck would you...
Why are you living here?
Yeah, why are you living here? I'm like, I don't know.
How'd you
But-
wind up here?
Yeah. So you get to, I mean, as horrific as most of it was,
Yeah. You get some pretty cool interactions sometimes.
you get some pretty interesting interactions.
Yeah.
And it is nice. Like, I wish that DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that would have been around while I was in college. That would have made my life so much easier
Yeah.
than, like, having to go, like, work a regular job.
Yeah.
Like, if I could just contract worked, like, some stuff.
The only thing that sucks about it is that 1099 tax form.
Yeah. Well, it's better than not making any money.
That's entirely true, yes. But, you know, the 1099 is just like around tax time, it's like it's like, hey, remember me? You owe the government $6,000.
Like, oh, no.
Oh, I spent all that. Yeah, because when you're on a 1099, you don't have things like you're not paying into anything like Social Security or Medicare or
Right,
whatever.
You're just taking all that money.
You're just like whatever you make goes
Right.
into your bank account, and it's up to you to set all that aside.
Right.
You know, in addition to like having to pay for like medical insurance and car
Right.
insurance and all that shit. So around tax time, I mean, they're coming. They're going to come after you.
They're coming for you.
They're coming for you hard. And I was on a 1099 for probably 3 years when I worked at Putting Around.
Yeah.
And every time the tax season came around, it was just like, I don't have the money to pay the government.
And you knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming every time. It was no surprise. It's not like they didn't tell me.
Like, let's see what I can mark down as a tax deduction.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's part of the. A good thing is you can write off a whole bunch of stuff. Like
Yeah.
you can do. You used to be able to do mileage and gas.
Yeah.
But now you can only do one or the other.
Right.
Which, by the way, speaking of tax write-offs, did you know that you used to be able to write off your credit card interest?
Really? I didn't know that.
Like back in the 80s. Like Ronald Reagan is the one who got rid of that. So thanks
thanks,
Reagan.
You jackass.
Yeah, but they're like, oh no, that's personal. That's like a personal interest. Like we don't, we can't pay you for that. And I was like, well, you've been doing it for
you're not
30
paying
years.
me for it. That's my money.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't see where you come into this equation at all.
Yeah. There was one last thing I wanted to talk about. A DoorDash story was, I'm pretty sure I delivered food to like a hotel fuck party.
Oh.
because it was so right in front of Arbor Place Mall. There's that Holiday Inn, and they had ordered a bunch of Buffalo Wild Wings.
No.
Which is literally right down the street.
Yeah.
Like it was the
You just
easiest.
go right down that road.
It was the easiest delivery it could have been, and it was less than a mile, and it was like $9. And I was like, I'll just do this one, and then I'll call it a night or whatever. And so I go and go pick up food, go into the hotel and everything. And I go to drop off the food, and there was conflicting instructions on the app about what to do with the food.
Yeah. But
Because so like you have like there's like a a little message that like the person who's ordering the food can type to you, and then they have the box that they have to check.
Right.
So the box that they checked was hand it to me, and then the instructions were leave it at the door.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't know really which one to do,
Right.
because like if I do one or the other, then they can complain that I didn't do the other one. And
So what did the system check? Like not what their note was. Like what did it tell you to do?
it told me to hand it to them.
Then you hand them the food.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, and they,
Because people like if anybody does DoorDash, do not trust the note. You always do what the app tells you to do.
Yep. Because then they can say that you didn't hand
Right.
it to them.
I got burned like that one time.
Yeah.
But I took a picture before I left.
Yeah, and always take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, another tip is take a picture of the food on your phone. Don't do it through the app.
Right.
Because then you don't have a backup of that.
Right.
Keep it on your phone. But so I knock on the door, and like nobody comes to the door, and I was like, I really don't want to leave this food here because I don't want to get in trouble for it.
Right.
And so I just kind of standing around, and I was just like DoorDash, banging on the door again. And this dude comes and he opens up the door, but only like a little, like this. He's like, "Hey, you can just leave it right there." And I was like, "All right, man, cool." And like I could see like behind him just a little bit, all these legs, just legs, like on the bed. I was like, "There's got to be like 14 people in this room."
They like all got on the bed so I didn't even see it.
Yeah, that's all I could figure is that they all tried to like mush themselves like out of the way. And the dude who answered the door had to have been butt ass naked.
Yeah.
Because I could kind of see like his shoulder a little bit.
There's no clothing
There's
there.
no clothing on this dude. So, yeah, I thought that was.
You could have just told me that through the door, man.
Yeah, but hey, we're fucking in here. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just leave your food right here. I like to imagine like they just all took a break to just eat some boneless wings.
Everybody's naked eating wings, just covered in salt, all sweaty.
It smells like garlic parmesan sauce and butt crack sweat in this room. And some poor Guatemalan maid has to come in there and clean up after him.
The fucking degeneracy.
Well, let's talk about our Super Cringe Thursday pick right quick.
Oh, yeah.
So this one's a bit of an interesting one. As of course, for everybody who didn't see it, our Super Cringe Thursday pick this week was what would you call it, a music video?
That's a very generous term for what that is.
It was we'll call it a music video. It's a music video that somebody made from a hacking group, like a group of hackers online, made this music video as a diss track to another hacking group called Lizard Squad.
Ugh.
What I understand is Lizard Squad did like a DDoS on the PlayStation Network.
Yeah. Were they the ones that did the big...
I think so. I think that was them. So a DDoS is what they call denial of something.
Denial of services.
Denial of services. Basically where you overload a server,
Yeah.
it causes it to crash, people can't access it, things like that.
Essentially, you just send so many ping requests to the server that it overloads the table and it can't do any more requests.
Yeah.
So nobody can access the service anymore.
Yeah. And so apparently, like, if you manage to DDoS a server, but you're like already in the server, you can fuck with a bunch of stuff and nobody can get in there and stop you.
Right.
But anyway, so the song itself is like, it's just as bad as a song can be. Right? It's a rap, and I can't even really call it a rap.
That's already, we're one strike.
Yeah. So it's the guy who's like recording himself like rapping. He's obviously doing it through some like $20 Logitech mic from from Walmart, and he's put it over like this
Garage band.
Like this is like Garage Band like pre-made beat.
Yeah.
Like they would come on like a Casio keyboard from like the 90s. And he is not in time.
No.
Ever.
He there's once or twice where he kind of gets in time and then he gets right back out of it.
It's so bad. And like there's a part in the middle of it where he says, he goes, "We are the Lizard Squad." It's like voice cracks. So I don't know why that part cracks me up. I'll just be sitting there. I'll just go Lizard Squad. But anyway, so at the end of it, there's like another little character that comes on screen, and they're using Minecraft characters for some reason, but not like directly ripped from the game. Like they modeled their own Minecraft. Right. I don't know. The whole thing.
Why did the one have tits?
Why did he have tits? Why did he have the other one? Didn't have tits.
I don't know.
But they were like these weird cylindrical tits that went all the way from the shoulders to the waist.
Right.
It was very odd.
It's like he's wearing like a life jacket.
Yeah, yeah. So at the end, there's like another one that appears on screen, and he goes, "Hey, Lizard Squad, hack this," and he like does a middle finger at the screen or whatever. And the funny thing is like these two groups of nerds feuding with one another.
No,
is like no matter who wins.
Everybody loses.
Everybody lost.
Yeah.
It's so stupid, and it's so cringy that no one thinks you're cool.
No.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that you think you're cool.
Right. Do you think that the person that made that was actually part of one of these hacking groups, or they like just think that they are? I think that is that they think that they are. Because, like, I don't see, like people from Anonymous coming out with rap videos. Like, they're too busy planning their next attack.
Next big thing.
Yeah, their next
They
big
usually
thing.
go after the government.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. Because this whole video kind of gives me I kind of get this feeling that every single aspect of it was made apart from the others and then just kind of put together.
Yeah.
Like, none of it was made with the other part in mind.
No.
Like the guy... So there was the music that was made, like the instrumental track, and then somebody tried their damnedest to rap over it.
Right.
And then somebody else, they probably sent that file to one of their buddies, and they were like, I want to see like the Discord chat log, where they're like, "Oh, dude, that's fucking sick, bro. I'm going to make a Minecraft animation out of that."
The whole thing was very like just disjointed. It's like it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was very confused by it.
It almost seems like AI generated.
Yeah, very odd, very strange. Yeah, I remember you sent that to me because when you first sent it to me, like I didn't understand what it was I was looking at. I was like, "Is there a kid rapping about Minecraft? Is that what it is I'm looking at?"
Which would have been pretty bad.
And then he started talking about hacking, and I was like, "Oh." I bet this kid's never hacked a thing in his life.
No, he probably found where somebody left their Facebook logged in.
Right.
On a
pro hacker.
Unattended computer, yeah. Hackerman.
He did a password reset request.
I love hearing the just like the out of touch language that like they'll use in movies.
Yeah.
Like I've hacked into the mainframe.
They're like, what?
What does that mean? What do you think that means?
I love how like there for a while like all of the Marvel movies would use quantum. Like everything was like quantum.
Yeah, just explain it away with quantum.
That.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, quantum.
Yeah. It's like as a matter of fact, I recently rewatched Endgame. Is that the last one?
It's the second to last one. No. Endgame's the last one.
Endgame is the last one. Whichever one they go back in time. So there's this like thing that they shoehorned in the middle of that movie just so they could advance the plot.
Right.
Where Tony Stark figures out how to go back in time.
It's just very lazy writing.
It's super lazy. And it's just so he's sitting there in his house and he is like the basic gist of this scene is Tony Stark says out loud, "I will figure out how to perfect time travel." And then he tells the computer, "Hey, perfect time travel." And then it does it and he's like, "I've got it." And they throw in a little bit of like technical mumbo jumbo in there.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what that scene is.
Right.
And I never really noticed it because, up until this point, like Tony Stark's doing things like making nanobots and,
Right.
I
I have to suspend my disbelief enough.
But I was like, after rewatching it and seeing that scene, I was like, wait a second. You can't just have the character figure it out. Just like all of a sudden, I've got it. This eureka moment. Like I don't know.
That'd be like somebody writing a scientific paper and then everybody going, "Oh, okay,
yeah, okay, sounds good.
Sounds good to me."
Yeah. Because the thing was like, the characters came up to him before, like, we want to go back in time and just stop everything. And he's like, you can't do that. It's not possible. And then the next scene, he's like, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah. He's been thinking about it.
Yeah.
I thought about it for a couple hours, and I think I got it figured out.
I thought about it for one whole scene. Yeah. And I got it. One camera shot. We didn't even cut the fucking shots.
Yeah, I loved how they were always, like, that's how they sort of explained everything away. It was like quantum.
Yeah.
Quantum time travel.
The quantum realm.
Yeah, the quantum realm.
Quantum Hulk.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, you've never even, like, established what the definition of quantum is.
Yeah, you can't just say quantum.
Yeah.
And then just...
they might as well just walk around the whole movie. Quantum.
Yeah, it's quantum Thanos.
Everybody's like, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
Quantum.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the new Ant-Man movie is called Ant-Man Quantumania. What is with this quantum thing?
I think at this point they're just memeing on it. Like,
you think so?
You'd have to. Like, there's no way. Quantum mania. Like, what the fuck is that?
I tried to watch. It's like, I think that Marvel really, when you're talking about like the movies and everything, I think they really peaked with Endgame. I think that was, of course it was the culmination of that story. It was the climax of that story and all that. But I really do think that, like, as far as quality goes, that was...
I like the last Spider-Man movie.
Well, okay, aside from the last Spider-Man movie, but I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if it wasn't for the fact that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were in the movie.
Well, they knew what they were
And
doing.
Willem Dafoe.
Right.
And Alfred Molina.
Yes.
The only person that was missing was James Franco.
Right.
But, and I watched a little bit of some of, like, the TV shows that they came out with.
I've never watched any of them.
Like, the Loki one was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Because I liked the casting of that show. It was Tom Hiddleston and...
Yes.
what the fuck is his name? Luke Owen's brother.
Oh,
the one that goes, wow.
Oh, Owen Wilson? No, Luke Wilson. No, Luke Wilson's dark-headed one. Owen Wilson's the blonde head.
Who did I say? Luke Owen?
Yeah, Luke Owen.
Owen Wilson, yeah. I'm like an old person. Who's that? Luke Owen? That show was pretty good. It kind of gave me like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy kind of vibes.
No.
So I thought that was pretty good. But then, like, I tried to watch some of the other stuff, and I just don't
She-Hulk?
fucking care. I don't care. Like,
they've got so many of them. It's sort of, they've flooded the market with Marvel
it's super
stuff.
saturated. It's crazy.
It's like you've got the What If? Like, isn't that a thing that they do?
There's What If. There's She-Hulk. There's The Eternals. There was all the movies that I didn't see, like Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings and Moon Knight. And
there's too much.
It's way too much.
It's too much.
It's too much to keep up with. There's other things I want to do.
Right.
Like, it was okay when you guys were coming out with a movie every 2 years, but now I'm like bombarded with all this shit.
There's like 3 or 4 movies a year.
Yeah.
On top of these like new series that you're doing.
And I can't say without actually having watched any of the stuff, but I don't know if they're trying to build up like to a new like, a new big bad.
Right.
Of course, you have they've been doing a lot of multiverse stuff.
Right.
Which with the introduction of that kind of opens up a lot. Like, you can do things like Galactus and some of the more like kind of out there sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. This is just way too much shit. It's way too much shit.
It's too much. Yeah, for me, I feel like if they would have done Endgame and then let it rest for a while,
like a good 5-6 years,
right? Like, if you could have taken like 4 to 5 years and been like, no more Marvel stuff for right now. Like, we understand we're sitting on top of a golden egg. We understand that.
Yeah.
But for the interest of drumming up support for the next movie that comes out, As like you could have had your next Iron Man, because Iron Man kicked off the whole deal.
Yeah.
And it was a massive success. As like, so you could have sat on it for 5 years and be like, man, I wonder when they're gonna put out a new Marvel movie. And then
Robert Downey Jr. is who you have to thank for all that. If you enjoyed any of that Marvel stuff,
right.
If it weren't for Robert Downey Jr. and his role as Iron Man,
right,
his role as Iron Man,
right, because before that, all of them were just very like disjointed.
Yeah,
like
the Hulk one.
Yeah, like the Hulk, like the Hulks were very standalone ones, and then Spider-Man was very standalone. Like there's no crossover here.
Yeah, yeah, I think that if they would have left it alone, of course they're not going to do that, right? Because they got shareholders and quarterlies, all that stuff. Everything's got to look nice and good for the people who are investing.
Right.
China. They should have waited 5 to 6 years and then came out with who would have been a good return. And leave Iron Man dead. Iron Man died.
Yeah, don't bring him back.
His purpose is filled. He's done.
No, don't bring him back. Don't have somebody refill the role with a new character.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't.
Nobody
do that.
else can be Iron Man.
Yeah, no.
Nobody else.
That never works well. It never works. So don't do it.
It doesn't.
How many times do we have to go down this road?
God, who would be a good one to really kick it back off? I don't know. It's hard to say because all the other stuff is like X-Men was its own thing, and then like Venom was its own thing,
right?
Which I liked. I liked both of the Venom movies.
I thought both of the Venom movies were really good.
Yeah. That's a matter of fact. Okay. Here's what it should have been: 5 to 6 years, and then the Spider-Man Homecoming movie with all the Spider-Man together.
Right.
I think that would have piqued a lot of interest, and that would have rekindled that appetite for stuff.
How long did they wait between those two? It was like 3 years that they waited in between Endgame and. It was longer than that.
2 or 3.
When did Endgame come out?
Endgame came out in
it's been a while, hasn't it?
Was it 2016?
Yeah. So and then Spider-Man: Homecoming came out in like 2020. So it'd been 4 years.
Yeah, but there was stuff in between that.
Yeah, like if they wouldn't have touched anything in between that time
like
frame,
took a complete hiatus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then that would have caused. Homecoming was a really good movie, I thought. So I feel like if you would have given that time in between there, like I think that would have been your return on investment would have been much. Not only your return, but the goodwill I think that you would have built up with your customer base.
Yeah.
Would have been much. It would have been more of a success than flooding the market the whole time with all
just dumping shit in, just like fucking buckets.
Yeah.
Here's your slop.
Throw meat in the grinder.
Yeah. I like some of the Marvel shows I like Daredevil. Mm-hmm. Daredevil was really cool because the thing I liked about Daredevil was of course he won every fight because he's the good guy, right?
Right.
But he had to fucking work for it.
Right.
Like a lot of those fights, he got his fucking
ass kicked.
shit rocked. And then, of course, the Punisher series was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the old Punisher movie. I don't remember the guy that played in it. I remember that
the one that plays Harvey Dent or Liev Schreiber, because there's two of them.
The one that I'm thinking of was the one that had what was the soundtrack on that?
Well, I'm not going to remember the soundtrack.
Well, it had was it Amy Adams that does "Wake Me Up" or whatever it is?
Oh,
is that what her name is? Amy Lee.
Amy Lee. It might be Amy Lee.
Yeah.
No. Amy Lee is from Flyleaf.
Amy something.
It's Amy something.
Amy something or another.
Was Wake Me Up on that?
Yes.
Was it really?
Yes, that was on that.
I don't remember that.
Right. And that was the same one where, and I don't remember who played the Punisher. I thought he did a good job, but it was the same one where they had the redheaded dude where they ripped he rips the eyebrow ring out of his eye. Remember?
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Or I know what scene you're talking about. I know that particular movie. That one. Yeah.
I thought that one was pretty good. Because that one was very standalone. It kind of came out of nowhere.
It's super campy, too.
Yeah.
But it works because it's Punisher. It's supposed to be over the top and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I understand what I'm getting myself into when I'm going into a Punisher movie.
Did you ever see the Liev Schreiber one? That one actually had Jigsaw as the main bad guy in that movie.
I can't remember.
But like they showed like the way Jigsaw's face got fucked up.
Yeah.
He's having like this big like shootout fight with like the mob or whatever.
Yeah.
In like a glass like warehouse or something like that, and they've got like this big tank that just spins glass shards in the middle of the room. Like that's his express purpose. If I had to like equate it to any kind of real world thing, it probably just breaks it down into glass beads. That's probably what it does. But anyway, it's just a big tank of glass, sharp glass spinning, and like he kicks him in there, and the guy, he's like slowly rotating, and all this glass going like It's so funny that like I think we had talked about it before, but like all the old school like villains and heroes, like usually they had to fall into something in order to like to kick that off. Like they fell into a vat of chemicals, they fell into a portal, they fell in.
Right. You would think with people that fall as much as that they do, that they would not be adequately equipped athletically to be a supervillain.
Yeah. You trip into a lot of things.
You're constantly falling all the time.
Yeah. And it was the same thing. DC did the same thing. The whole the reason Joker's crazy and his skin is white is because he fell into acid.
Yeah. I don't get it. I will say this. I will say that on the whole, Marvel in the past has done a better job of cultivating their heroes and their supervillains as opposed to what DC has done, with the exception of the Dark Knight series.
Yeah. Well, you have Christopher Nolan to thank for that.
Right.
He's just an incredible director.
And I got to thinking too. Is it odd that like our generation, like all the superhero type stuff was like very dark, like everything was very like
edgy,
right? So even like the old Batman series was very dark.
Yeah.
And like the Dark Knight, it's dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's not a whole lot of fun attached to it.
Yeah, well, when that stuff was coming out, you're talking about early 2000s.
Right.
And so that was when everything kind of went from like, everything went from like extreme in the 90s to kind of like edgy and moody and like
very
like
emo.
the early because it followed our interests, right? Because
Right.
I mean, think about what kids were like around that time, right?
Right.
So like in the 90s, kids were extreme and crazy, and then like
they crashed. In the 2000s.
Yeah, they all had fucking sugar crash from all that surge. And then the 2000s come along, everybody's emo and very moody, My Chemical Romance.
Yeah,
and,
everybody had like the long swoopy hair.
Yeah. So I think it just kind of follows the tastes of whatever the kids are into, right?
Right.
I thought the new Batman was pretty good, the one with Robert Pattinson.
I haven't seen it.
It was pretty good. I liked the soundtrack in that one. And I like the way his Batman like fights in that movie. He's just like a street brawler.
No.
Like there's no like flash. There's no like good spa in there. It's just he's beating the shit out of people.
Does he do a better job with the voice than Christian Bale?
You mean it, baby? Wait, tell me what they are, Joker. I don't really remember a lot about Robert Pattinson's.
My favorite part of the whole movie is where, in the third one, where he gets stabbed, he goes,
yeah, he's like making those fish lips. I think he just looks dumb.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
The face he makes is dumb. And like his like neck, he can't move his neck, so he's having to move his whole shoulders. He's like, and of course, was it College Humor, the ones that fucking shit on that all the time?
Yeah.
Like a lot of their like little skits they did were like
when
super
he did like
funny.
the high pitched voice thing. I was like, ah.
Yeah. I like the one video that those guys did where Batman's like interrogating the Joker, but he just keeps punching him in the head. Because his Joker was like, they opens when they're just kind of looking at each other, and the Batman guy's like, and Joker's like, what? It's like, I'm sorry, I can't understand what are you saying? It's like, are you speaking bat? Is that what bat sounds like?
Oh God. That was such a good movie. The second one's so good.
The second
With
one's
the
with
Joker,
Joker,
yeah.
right? Yeah. First one was with Liam Neeson, Crab Rangoon. What is his name? Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul.
And then
was it Scarecrow was the main bad guy in that
Scarecrow
one?
was in that. Oh, yeah, he
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it's been a long time since
Yeah.
I've seen that one. But you know what I do remember from that is that the little kid is Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Oh, he is, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I never put that together.
I don't know if that was like the first thing he ever like starred in or whatever.
No.
But I remember him that being him. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting to go back and watch movies and you go, hey,
Yeah, I know.
I
who
didn't
that
realize
is.
that person was in this movie.
Yeah. He, I think, was. I think what happened to him with Game of Thrones is kind of the same thing that happened with the kid who played Anakin in Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say that he went crazy off the deep end like that kid did, but because his character was so unlikable, like adults, people who happen to live past 18
Right.
were like hating on him so much, like him, the person,
Yeah.
not the character, the person,
Right.
that it like drove them mad.
Well, and that's funny because I've heard him do an interview before, like while he was playing that character, and he's
Yeah.
like, "I hate this character.
Yeah.
This character is such a cunt." Like,
He plays a great cunt, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like Joffrey, like the cunt to end all cunts.
no, he played that character perfectly. Like, they couldn't have picked a better person to play Joffrey.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
he nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah. It's one thing to like be like a bad guy,
No.
like I'm the bad guy, but to like get a very visceral hatred
Oh yeah.
in somebody just because you're so cunty, like that's something to be proud of, I think.
Right, and
Yeah.
like his character was he wasn't like the atypical bad guy where like you're afraid of the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's like you just don't like this person because they're such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like that kind of bad guy.
Yeah.
Like he's not personally going to do anything.
Yeah.
Because he's too much of a weasel.
It's like, it very perfectly showed, like, what would happen if you gave, like, a little spoiled brat,
Yeah.
the keys to the car here.
Right.
And, like, people got fucked up a lot.
Right.
Game of Thrones has a lot of moments that are very cathartic, like where, bad guys get their comeuppance, and
Right.
you're just like, fuck yes, fuck
Right.
yes.
But it's never the way you want it
It's
to
never
happen.
the way you want it. Yeah.
They end up getting it.
Yeah.
But it's always like, I wish it would have been just a little more.
Just a little,
mwah.
yeah, a little worse.
You're right.
There's never really anything that's super poetic about people's deaths in that show, which I
No.
kind of like that,
Right.
Because it's very, some people just fucking die, like,
Right.
just like,
Well, that's what made the show so great is like you didn't know, like normal shows, like they follow a guideline, like, oh,
Yeah.
now we do this, and now we do this,
Yeah.
and now we do this.
there wasn't a ton of plot armor.
No.
Maybe for Jon Snow, you could
Right.
argue because he was brought back from the dead or whatever, and they were really hinting at him being like the chosen one or whatever.
Right. Well, before they did that, they had already sort of laid the groundwork for there is a person
Yeah,
that is aforetold.
yeah, someone out there.
Right.
Yeah,
So it wasn't like with the end game deal. I think they're a little bit different. Or it's like I figured it out.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So they laid the groundwork a little bit for
over
that.
several seasons.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's why it doesn't sit too bad with me. But think about like it's like whenever somebody goes to like they get into Game of Thrones and they're talking about it, I'm like, my only advice to you is don't get attached to anybody.
Right. And watch up until like the second to last season. Then
Yeah, you don't need to watch season 8.
Yeah. It was so I was up until today, I've never been so invested in a series and been like, wow, this is such a fantastic series that's so expertly written and followed, and the character development is so great. And then in the last season, you just piss it all away.
Yeah. The worst part about it is knowing why it was so bad.
Yes.
The reason that it was so bad is that Dumb and Dumber, the fucking directors, wanted to wrap it up so that they could work on Star Wars. They wanted to finish fucking Game of Thrones in the face so that they could go and fuck Star Wars in the ass.
Right.
And just ruin both of these things.
Right. Let's ruin both of them.
Yeah, why ruin one thing when we can ruin several
Two things. I think the part that really killed it for me is when Jon Snow, spoiler alert, stabs Daenerys, kills her.
Yeah.
And then like the dragon's like corruption of power.
Yeah.
And he like burns down the throne. It's like, the fuck what?
Yeah, this is so fucking
it's so
dumb.
fucking stupid.
It's so dumb. There's so many things that are just so dumb in the last season. Like, and also too, like there was a lot of like vitriolic hatred from like the producers to the fan base.
Oh yeah.
Like
that really seems to be like, after that happened, it seems like that's more and more
common. Yeah.
More common.
Yeah.
Where like the showrunners are just like, our fan base is so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand.
Like
why are you
doing...
shitting on your fan base? What are you doing?
Yeah, they're trying to give you money.
Right.
Like, here's some money. Fuck you.
Right.
It's like, whoa. I think it came to a head when they had the Battle of Winterfell. And, you know, everybody was complaining, like, why is this so dark? Like, I can't see a fucking thing.
Right.
And the reason that it was so dark is because it would have been super expensive to have all that shown clearly, so they just hid it behind dark lighting.
Right.
But they came out and were like, oh, it's just really dark because you all have terrible TVs and you don't have them set on the right settings.
Yeah, it's like, well, everybody is having this issue.
Yeah, it's every single person has a shitty TV.
Well, I remember sitting in, because I was working, and where was I? In Amarillo, Texas, when that episode came out. And I remember just like sitting there watching it. Like I had all the lights turned off in the hotel room and the curtain closed. I was like, and I still can't see anything.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just looking into the abyss.
Yeah.
Like I can't see anything at all. Like I could understand maybe if you kept it that dark at the initial point of it to build suspense, like when all the Dothraki ride out into
I will say
darkness.
that was a cool shot.
Yes, that was a very cool shot.
Where they all rode out into the darkness with like their flaming swords or whatever, and then like out in the distance you can see them like slowly starting to go out.
Yeah.
And you're like, that was a cool shot.
Yes, that was a very cool shot. I didn't like the way that they ended with Arya like jumping out of the shadows and like stabbing. Like,
yeah, like this superhero moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it would have been more interesting if like she would have killed Bran, took his face,
yeah,
and then like was laying there and then jumped up and stabbed him.
Yeah.
Like that would have been more interesting. Because it would have tied everything together.
Yeah, it would have wrapped everything up.
Right.
But we had to have Bran be the king.
Right. One younger, more attractive.
Also, there was like that really weird like anti-American thing where Sam brought up the idea of maybe doing a democracy, and they all laughed at him.
Yeah, they're like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, that was very thinly veiled. There's a lot of hoopla going on right now about the new Velma TV
I did
series.
see that.
Have you seen that?
I saw that on IMDb. It is now the lowest rated.
Yeah, it's got a row of like a rating of like 7. Like 7%.
I thought it was like 1.8.
Oh, is it that low?
Yeah, it's like
wow. I thought it was.
It's like 1.8. Yeah, it's 1.8. Yeah.
Yeah, that's critics and audience scores.
Right.
Because Rotten Tomatoes will show you like what the people who were paid to say nice things said,
Right.
and then what the people who weren't paid to say.
From what I've seen, is that it is universally hated
By everyone.
by everyone.
By everyone. Conservatives hate it. Liberals hate it. White people hate it. Black people hate it. And we all came together and said, this is shit.
Right.
This is really bad.
Well, and I haven't watched it, but just from sort of reading some of the comments and stuff, it just seems like they tried to pander to a bunch of people, and then it was so like obvious what it was that they were doing.
It's really on the nose.
That
It's super on the nose.
everybody's like, oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
The thing about it is, the way that they have Velma written is she's so unlikable.
Right.
She's really unlikable. She's a bitch.
Right.
And not like a fun bitch.
Yeah.
Just like a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
And like a cunt. And like she's an asshole.
Yeah, like nobody likes an asshole.
Nobody likes an asshole.
Right. And
people were wondering, well, this is like, the Scooby-Doo characters. Where's Scooby-Doo? You want to know? You want to know what Scooby-Doo is in this show?
It's probably like a dildo or something.
Nope. I wouldn't be surprised, though. It'd probably be better than what it actually is. Scooby is a black girl, and it's spelled Scoobi.
What?
They made Scooby a black girl.
What? Does she go ruh-roh?
I haven't watched any of it because I'm not going to give them the views. I'm not even going to hate watch it.
I just don't understand. Why don't you just come up with a new IP and do it that way?
Yeah, if you wanted to make a show,
why not do it that way?
It's just a bunch
understand.
of character assassination. Like, with all these beloved characters, why are you making every single one of them just
not what they are?
Insufferable.
Right. Not what they are. Like, those characters weren't written that way.
It came out that, they changed Shaggy to a black guy.
Yeah.
And his name is Norval.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure his actual name in Scooby-Doo, like lore or whatever, is Norval. Like Norval Rogers or something like that. But they did that because they were assuming that people would get mad that he was black, and then people would talk about it. And people talked about it like a little bit, but very clearly caught on like, okay, wait, that's what they did this on purpose.
Right.
Like, so they didn't make Shaggy black because they wanted black representation. They made Shaggy black because they knew it would piss, or they thought that it would piss people off.
Right.
But what pissed people off is that they did it on purpose.
Right.
It pissed off black people and white people.
I don't fucking care that like you race swapped the characters. What I do care is that you took the characters that everybody loves and you rewrote them to be just like Velma.
Just miserable.
Velma's not a cunt.
No.
Velma was never a cunt.
She's like why really are you smart?
Yeah, why are you writing her that way?
It seems hateful.
Yeah.
The whole show seems hateful. It seems like somebody has a chip on their shoulder with Scooby-Doo.
Right.
And then got the show and then just turned it into a circus.
It's like, why do you hate Scooby-Doo so much? I don't understand.
There's
like Scooby-Doo's never done anything to anybody.
Yeah.
It's very repetitive, yes.
Extremely repetitive, yeah. But like that's kind of the point of it. It was just like these episodes with a formula,
right?
That they could just put episodes out.
Yeah, sort of was the deal.
Yeah, they were like, it's going to be like a edgier version of Scooby-Doo with like we're going to show how the gang all got together, right? Which showing how the gang came together, that's a cool idea,
right?
I like that. It would have been cool if that was what they went into like earnestly, and they wanted to show like. Them all meeting each other, maybe not liking each other at first, but going through some kind of, struggle together and then becoming like a group.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. But instead, you did like this, I don't even know what to call this.
Right.
This just fucking shit pot of garbage.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand like taking these characters that are beloved by a lot of different people and writing the character in such a way
doing it on purpose
that they become insufferable.
It's like it's one thing if it's like just inept writing,
right?
But it
seems very on purpose. From what you're explaining to me, it seems like it's very on purpose.
Well, it's Mindy Kaling is the one who's writing it. Mindy Kaling, of course, is the girl that plays Kelly on The Office. And she also wrote a lot of episodes on The Office. So she is a very capable writer.
Right.
She has proven time and time again that she can write.
Right.
So it doesn't suck and it's not awful because Mindy Kaling can't write. It sucks and it's awful because she did it on purpose.
Right.
But I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah, why would you do that? It's like you said, it's like if you hate Scooby-Doo that much, it's like then why are you even bothering with this?
Yeah. It didn't change anybody's opinion on Scooby-Doo.
No, it changed their opinion on you.
On you. Right. They hate what you made.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Scooby Doo's been around for a long time, and there's been a lot of like Scooby Doo like reiterations, like
Yes.
a pup named Scooby Doo, Be Cool Scooby Doo, Scooby Doo Where Are You?
Right.
All
The
that stuff.
movies.
The movies, which a lot of the movies are really good.
With who is it? Matthew, who plays Shaggy?
Oh, you're talking about the live action
Yeah,
movies?
the live action movies.
Matthew Illard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew Lillard. Yeah.
Lillard. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Who was a perfect fit for Shaggy.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the live action movies, I think they're okay.
Yeah, they're all right.
They're all right. They're for good for what they are.
Right.
Yeah. But like the animated movies are really good. Like the cyberspace one is really good. The Zombie Island one is really good. I also like how they'll have like a lot of like musical guests.
Yeah.
They did a lot of guest appearances on that show.
John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena. Even back in the day, they had Batman and Robin.
Right.
They had the Harlem Globetrotters were in an episode.
Right.
So it was really cool. They did a lot of cool stuff.
A lot of crossover stuff.
A lot of crossover stuff. So I don't know who Mindy's mad at.
Right.
Who are you upset with?
Right.
Right? Is it just white people? Because is that what it is? Are you just mad at white people?
Right.
Because there's other ways to...
Then just say it.
Then just say it. Come out and say it.
Yeah, just say it.
Don't hide behind a shitty cartoon that you make.
Don't hide behind Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It very clearly, I think people are starting to kind of wake up to the pandering thing.
Right.
Because I think that the black audience is like, wait a second, you're using us
Right.
as, a lightning rod for your hatred.
Right.
Because, we didn't ask you to do this. We didn't ask you to make Shaggy black. We didn't ask you to turn Scooby into a
Right.
black girl. Like, what are you doing here?
Well, it always kind of makes me laugh too, cause it seems to me from the outside looking in that what a lot of what happens that you have, like, of course, you have like the white people that will go, oh, we turned the character black for you.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, like,
We threw you a bone.
Yeah, threw you a bone. And then it's like, well, we never asked you to do that.
Yeah. Why not just make a black character?
Yeah, why not just make a black character? Why don't you do that? Or why don't you like come up with a new show where there's a black character in it?
Yeah. Same thing with like, other like underrepresented groups, like gay
Right.
people. Like, we made this character gay for you. Like, we didn't ask you to do that.
Didn't ask you to do
Why
that.
not just write a gay character?
Right.
Why not write a normal person who happens to be gay?
Exactly.
You know who did that well was Invincible. His friend, Mark's friend.
That was a really good series.
Yeah.
Aren't they supposed to be coming out with season 2 for that?
As a matter of fact, yeah. I saw a little clip on Twitter today. They finally released some information.
Right.
It's where Invincible and Alan the Alien, who's voiced by Seth Rogen,
Yeah.
they're like sitting in a diner talking.
Oh, okay.
It's a very like meta thing, like,
Yeah.
when is the world going to see more of you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So late 2023 is when I think we're going to get season 2. But it was kind of funny. They were like, they said without saying, quit fucking asking us.
Right.
We're working on it. But yeah, so Mark's friend in that show was a gay guy.
Right.
He was just a character who was gay.
Right.
It wasn't like every other sentence was like, because I'm gay. I'm gay because I'm gay.
He wasn't like sucking a cock and like started talking to him.
Yeah, just like
they
hey,
weren't. Yeah.
Let me. What'd you say?
Well, I just think that people that do these shows, like, they try so hard to try to get like this representation deal in there.
Yeah.
And like, I understand where they're coming from. Like, they want to expand the audience so that you can get more people involved with this show.
Yeah.
It's like, but you can't make, like, you shouldn't make the whole character when you write this character or when you change this character, you can't then be this whole character's identity is the representation.
Yeah.
Because that's not anybody. Nobody lives their life like that.
Yeah, it's very clearly just a box that you check.
Yeah, it's like so you're telling me that we as humans have like no like common ground to stand on just because the color of your skin or your sexual orientation, like we have no common.
Yeah, there's nothing but, yeah.
Yeah.
People aren't one-dimensional.
Right.
People are multifaceted. There's all kinds of things about one person.
Right. It's like you might have like a gay black guy that loves fucking metal.
Yeah.
Who says that he can't?
Yeah.
Like, but it's never like they always sort of like try to put everybody into these like, oh, you fit in this box, so then we're gonna write the character like that.
This is where you go, and you go over here.
Right.
Yeah. It's like they're pitching like how are they going into these like pitch meetings or whatever, and like they're like, tell us about this character, tell us about this black character here. Oh well, this is Blackie Blackerson, and he's black, and that's all he is. He's black, and every time he's on screen, he says he's black.
Right.
And they're like, oh my god, they're gonna love that. That's what black people do.
Right. Exactly. It just seems very out of touch.
It is extremely out of touch. It's like it almost makes me wonder: have these people ever met a black person?
Yes.
Have you ever actually talked to a black person before?
You ever actually met somebody that's black?
They're like, I don't know, a person.
Right.
They have things that they like and things they don't like, and they
it's
have
like,
places they go.
They just look a little different than you. Like, I don't
know. I mean, like, and that's not to say that you can't have a conversation about race on your show. You absolutely can.
No.
You know, there's plenty to be said.
Yes.
A show that did it really well was Static Shock.
Yes.
Because there was, Static Shock was a black character and his friend was white. And they addressed it several times during the show. Like, we live different lifestyles, but we are people.
At the end of the show, that should be the common denominator.
Yeah, they were never like, shitting on each other for him being black and him being white.
It's like, you'll never understand me.
Yeah.
Like, there's never like that conversation.
And there was one episode where Static Shock stays the night over at his friend's house, his white friend's house. And his dad is like, really racist.
What? I don't remember this
episode.
Remember that? No.
There's like at the dinner table, and there's like this really like awkward silence, and like Static Shock's like trying to talk, kind of lighten the mood. Yeah. And he was like, I brought over that new hip hop CD we can listen together. And the dad's like, there'll be no hip hop in this house. And then,
what?
Yeah. And then like he's like a little bit later, he's like walking down to like go brush his teeth before bed. And he walks past the parents' bedroom, and he hears the dad being like, it's bad enough I got to work with them all day, and now there's one of them in my house.
Whoa. Whoa.
But, it brings up a conversation between, Static Shock and his friend. His friend is very ashamed that his dad is behaving that way in front of his friend.
Right.
And, they address it in a very responsible way.
Right.
It's
like, I'm not going to put the sins of the father on you when I know that's not who you are.
And I might be wrong about this, but if I remember correctly, the dad doesn't end up changing his mind. Like, he stays racist.
Right. Because
that's usually what happens.
Exactly.
If somebody is that way, that's usually how they stay that way.
It's a
true representation
of what actually happens. Yeah. Right.
I mean, would it be nice if they all came together and sang Kumbaya? Absolutely, it would be. But is that usually what happens?
Right.
No.
Well, it's also, especially like with a kids show, like I think it's important to say that, hey, like, things are not always going to work out the way that you want them to work out.
Yeah, some things don't get better.
No, some things don't get better.
Some things are bad forever.
Right, exactly.
It's going to be good for you to learn.
Just the way that it is.
Yeah, it'd be good for you to learn that right now.
Right.
I don't remember if I had ever mentioned it on the podcast before or not, but Monsters University.
Yes.
They were really close. Really, really, really close to writing a movie about, just because you really want something with all your heart doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Right.
Like, you might just not be cut out for whatever the thing is you want to do. And I remember the first time I watched that movie, I was like, is that really what they're going for here? Because if so, kudos to them for doing that. Because that's a really bold thing to put in a kid's movie. Right. It's an important lesson to learn. But, I don't know. I haven't seen anybody have the balls to do it yet. Without thinking about the fact that, this is a prequel.
Right.
And of course, in the original movie, they are at the scare factory or whatever. But I was like, it would have been, it's like nobody ever really has the balls to give a true representation of what life is.
They sort of did with Mike Wazowski's character, because he never does, like, really.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, he kind of has to go about it a different way.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that is true. But it's like I had said before, like the thing with like ending the world. Nobody really ever at the end of the world movie ever ends the world.
Right.
There's like 3 that I can point to.
Right.
Like Don't Look Up, which is a fantastic movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh yeah.
I thought that one was really good.
Yeah, it's one of the very few ones that they've, like, at the end of it, the world is gone.
Yeah. One thing I did like about that movie is at the end, the only people that lived was like all the old, like, rich people, like, who were in like their like 70s, like they can repopulate a planet. Right quick before we get out of here, we do have a correction to read.
Ooh.
So here's the soundbite.
We're sorry.
And here we go. This is another one that comes from Chris.
Okay.
So I guess Chris is going to be our fact checker. So I guess another episode I had mentioned that Logan Paul was in the WWE. It actually wasn't Jake Paul. It actually wasn't Jake Paul in the WWE. It was Logan Paul.
Logan
so
Paul.
that's what it was.
He's the older brother.
Logan's
right?
the older one.
Okay.
So I said that Jake was in the WWE, but Logan was. He did say, however, that Jake made a guest appearance, and apparently Logan Paul is actually pretty good
in wrestling.
So not at running a business, but that comes from Chris, who is an avid wrestling fan.
Yes.
And he so desperately wants anyone else to be a wrestling fan so he can talk about it to people.
Well, Chris, you missed me by 2 decades.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, because had we been having this conversation during the Attitude Era with Stone Cold Steve Austin and all those in that group, then I would have had the conversation with you. But the reason, and I'll get off on a tangent here, the reason why the Attitude Era was so good was because they pushed the envelope with everything. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin cut the Austin 316 promo, where it was like making fun of like John 316.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was like, because the backstory for that is that he was wrestling, I don't remember what the guy's name was. Some other wrestler, and he came out there and he was like spouting off like Bible verses during he was cutting his promo and like saying Bible verses and like how God was going to help him win. And so I actually watched a hour and a half like documentary about Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, he used to live in Winston.
Yeah, he lived right across the street from my friend Jason.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was talking about that and like how like the wrestling match that he had was he had to wrestle one person. They do like a thing called King of the Ring, where like you wrestle multiple wrestling matches, and he got kicked in the face. And
Stone Cold did?
It split his lip open. He had to go to the hospital and get like 17 stitches.
Damn.
And he had to come back and wrestle again
With
to win
stitches in his
King of the
lip?
Ring. Yeah. And so he gets up and cuts this promo after he wins. And he's like, you're up there saying all these Bible verses. He's like, that didn't fucking help you nothing. And he's like, Austin 3:16 says, I just kicked your ass. And then he goes, and then he like does the other thing, and he says, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. And like that's his 2 big like promos.
Yeah.
He just happened to say them both at the same time,
Yeah.
and they weren't scripted. He just like off the cuff came up with both of them.
ad-libbed it?
He just ad-libbed it. And like that's sort of like what rocketed him.
Yeah.
And that's how he became like the big deal in WWE.
Like smashing the beer on his forehead.
Yeah, smashing beer on his forehead. He like came out like the beer truck was spraying beer in the ring and everything. Like they did wild stuff back then.
They did,
And that's why everybody loved it so much.
Yeah.
Like I saw another one where he was wrestling in another federation called ECW, and he gets out of the ring and like takes a cigarette from somebody in the crowd, smokes it and flicks it on the ground, and then power bombs somebody.
You know,
Like, there's no way they'd let somebody do that now.
Yeah.
Not on national television. Like, there's too many sponsors involved.
oh yeah, too many people who have like ad money in this thing.
Oh, yeah.
I always wonder like how much of that is scripted. A lot of it is, right? Like I mean,
Yeah, so from what...
Like, who's going to win the match, obviously,
right,
is
so,
scripted.
like, the bookers will say, like, hey, you're going to win this match, or you're going to, like, what they call, like, do a job for somebody, which means you're going to take the fall.
Yeah.
Like, and I think they kind of tell them, like, oh, you have 15 minutes to do the match or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's up to them at that point. From what I understand, like, they'll go down to the ring and they'll go through, like, hey, here's what I want to do here. And then they'll set up, like, the big things. Like, what's our big splash?
So they actually have, like, rehearsals.
Like, they will go out and rehearse it with one another in the ring. Like, the ones that are good and actually care about their fucking job.
Yeah.
But then they'll also, like, ad-lib while they're doing it. Like,
Yeah.
there's some different, like, things they'll do. Like, you see them, like, talking, like, they'll be saying something in the ring, like, while they got somebody in a headlock. It's like, here's what I want to do next. And then, like, they'll talk through it in the ring because everybody's, like, cheering and, like, all this stuff so they can't hear anything.
That's interesting. I had never considered the rehearsal part of that.
Yes.
And I was always, like, wondering, like, the storyboarding part of it. Like, is there like, a team of writers that's like, okay, last week such and such happened. Like, where do we go from here? We have an endpoint we want to get to where this particular wrestler is like the champ of the season.
Right.
Like, how do we get there? Like, obviously somebody's writing that.
Right. Yeah. So I think from what I understand, the way that they usually go about it is they'll say, we're going to start the storyline between this person and this person. It's going to start this way.
Yeah.
So most of the time, one storyline will start getting wrapped up with somebody else. Somebody will then run into the ring and they'll hit him with a chair or something like that, and then it starts the new storyline.
Like, oh my God, it's Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, right.
Bill Goldberg just entered the ring.
Right. And then so they'll get that storyline started between those two people. Usually that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Is there's some type of like nefarious activity that happens, right?
Nefarious.
Right. So you can't just be like the ones that really don't catch on are the ones where it's just like these two random people.
Yeah.
They get into the ring and they're just kind of filler.
Yeah.
Right. And those are usually like the mid card guys.
Yeah.
Or like the bottom. Like they're like the first two out of like the show or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's just like they're trying to get the crowd worked up, warmed up, and everything. And that's where a lot of people will cut their teeth is like in the first couple spots, because it's like you have to prove to management like, do you have enough pizzazz? To really like get
out there and zhuzh it up and entertain the crowd.
Right.
Because that's at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to entertain people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I've read and watched enough stuff like on the old guard, like before like this new. I don't watch it anymore. I enjoy watching the old stuff. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, Booker T, all those guys. Like they would talk about like you have to like slow the match down. Like when somebody's like laying on the ground, you have to like work the crowd, right? Like depending
pump your arms, and,
like if you're a heel, like if you're a heel, which is the bad guy, you have to get up and like talk shit to the crowd. And then if you're like a good guy, like there's different ways you have to play it depending upon like who is your character.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
So it's very like the management and the bookers will set up like, here's how we want the storyline to progress. Here's who we want to win in the end. And then, like
they kind of give them like a skeleton frame of
they'll
what
give
they
them a
want to do.
skeleton frame, and then they'll say, but the match is up to you.
Yeah.
Like you decide on how, like what's the storyline in the match.
Yeah.
So like the whole thing with the Undertaker power bombing.
Or tossing mankind off the cell.
Yeah. Like that, they decided that. That wasn't something that
mankind was really the kind of the brain behind that one, because I know that there's several like interviews where Undertaker was like, I kept telling him like, I'm not fucking throwing you off of this thing.
And he did it twice, 2 times. Like if one wasn't enough.
Yeah. That shit's so crazy. Yeah, it's like, people say wrestling is fake. Like, a lot of
those bumps they take aren't fake.
Yeah, those hits, there's no way to fake a 40-foot fall onto a concrete floor.
Right. And most of the time, like, you'll notice, like, they won't, like they're, like, acting like they're punching somebody. They don't really do that as much as they'll, like, backhand somebody, like, across the chest. Yeah. Because it makes a bigger, like,
a pop noise.
Because that's what they're looking for. They want everybody to hear it. As opposed, like, like they'll stomp their foot, like when they punch somebody. Yeah. Because you can't, like, really just clock someone.
Yeah. It would be funny if, like, you had 2 guys who were like, hey, what if just this one time we just got in the ring and started fucking throwing fists at each other?
Brock Lesnar did that.
Just started, like, punching the crap out of each other.
Brock Lesnar did that when he came back from the UFC.
Right, dude. Yeah. Was he like hot off the heels of UFC? He's like, sorry, I gotta ease back into this.
He fucked John Cena up.
Really?
Like, yeah, I watched a little documentary on it or whatever, and he came in the ring and just beat the shit out of John Cena. Like, wasn't pulling punches, and John Cena's like bloodied
Oh
up.
my god. He's like upset because Frank Mir leg locked him.
Like, you want to talk about a physical specimen?
Yeah. Brock Lesnar's a fucking scary dude.
Yeah, it's like a fucking, like, it'd be like trying to fight a silverback gorilla.
Yeah. Yeah. A really angry
Angry one. Like, I think he's the only person in history that might have a chance against a bear.
You think so?
Yeah. Like, if I had to choose somebody throughout history,
Yeah.
we have to put out one person to fight a bear.
To fight a bear. What kind of bear? Black bear?
Like a black bear. No, he'd get fucked up by a grizzly. But like, just like a normal black bear, like a 200-pound black bear. It'd be like, you have to choose somebody. Who's it going to be? I'd be like, Brock. It's got to be Brock Lesnar.
I would say either Brock Lesnar or Michael Clark Duncan with several years of training. Because Michael Clark Duncan was a big fucking dude.
Yeah.
That's the guy who played the big black guy in Green Mile. He's massive in that movie.
Yeah, he's really big.
I know that a lot of the camera shots in that movie, they have him like standing up on like a soapbox, so he appears that much taller. But even then, he's still
There's
a big,
another
big
dude
guy.
that fought in Pride over in Japan who was fucking huge. Bob Sapp. Have you ever seen?
Yes, Bob Sapp.
Yeah.
I like the fight between him and Crow Cop. Where Crow Cop punches him in the head one time and like cracked his skull.
He broke his orbital bone.
God almighty. It's so funny. It was not, I don't want to say it's funny, but seeing Bob Sapp, a big guy like Bob Sapp, get punched in the head once and then just like cover his face and fall to the ground.
Yeah.
I was like, what'd he do to him?
Crow Cop was a fucking murderer. He's a killer. Like,
yeah, actually, because didn't you say he was like Secret
he's
Service?
like Spetsnaz or whatever.
Oh yeah, so he's definitely killed people.
Like in Croatia.
He's probably like punched someone's head off.
Oh yeah. Well, like, have you ever watched any of like his highlight films? Like, I've watched plenty where the dude like has his hands up to block a kick, and he kicks him so fucking hard.
Yeah.
He hits himself in the head with his fist and then falls over.
Knocks himself out. The thing about Crow Cop is he's so fast.
Oh yeah.
When you have strikers, they're fucking lightning fast. That's when things get hairy.
Right.
That's like Ronda Rousey was such a fast striker, and she had good ground game too.
Yeah. Well, and she was an okay striker. Her ground game was where she excelled.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if she was like,
You think she bought into her own hype
people were
too much?
talking shit about her striking, and I think that's when she stood up.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm not taking anybody else to the ground. And then she got fucked up.
Yeah, Holly Holmes.
Because Holly Holmes beat the shit out of her.
Beat the brakes off of her ass.
Because there was that, and then who's the other one that's really good? John Jones is a really good striker.
Yeah.
But he's not necessarily so fast. It's just that he can strike from any angle.
Yeah.
So he's never not going to hit you.
Yeah. Like, no matter where you're standing or where he's standing, he's going to punch you somewhere.
Right. You're going to get hit with something. Like, there was plenty of times where somebody would throw out a jab and he'd knock it down.
Yeah.
And then just fucking elbow him, like, right across the eyebrow.
Just a real quick,
split him open.
Real quick counter.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. So once again, as always, thank you so much for listening. We hope that you enjoyed. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you reach out to us on the Facebook page, or you can email us at thickboypodcast@gmail.com. Just to clarify, that's thickboypodcast@gmail.com. No S.
I continue to misspell things when I create social media accounts and emails.
And if you follow us on Twitter, it's Thicc Boy Podcast.
Yeah, the Thicc Boy Podcast.
We still have a couple of stickers left over, so if anybody's wanting stickers, or if your stickers are deteriorated, let us know, and we'll get those to you. If we said anything that you disagree with or anything that pissed you off, make sure you write in and you let us know, and we'll read it out on a section we have called I'm Sorry. Also, if you have any advice, if you need any advice on anything, we're more than willing to give our 2 cents.
No.
We might steer you in the wrong direction, so
More than likely.
yeah, just take that with a grain of salt. Wesley, do you have anything you'd like to close with?
Nope. Just thank you for the continued support. We really do appreciate it. And then we'll try to get the episode out to you next week at some point, and then we'll continue to push forward.
Wesley, actually, he posted on the Facebook page like our year-end review.
Yes,
Is that something like
2022.
Buzzsprout put together?
Yeah, that's something Buzzsprout put together, and I wanted to share it with everybody that listens to the podcast.
That was really cool, kind of looking at all those stats.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
So if you haven't looked at that, make sure you go scour the Facebook page and and take a look at it. It's pretty
Yeah,
neat.
I'll pin it. That way that's up at the top. I think our one chip challenge has been pinned for quite some time, so I'll pin that. That way it'll be up at the top so you don't have to
I
scroll
hope you guys like the one chip challenge because I'm never doing that again.
No. Oh, I do need to bring those hot sauces over so that we can try them.
Oh God. Well, yeah, we'll torture ourselves in some other way.
There you go.
We'll have something for you.
Yeah, we can do it as like a Super Bowl special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put like on different wings or whatever. Do like our version of Hot Ones.
We could do that. That would be good.
Yeah. So we'll have something for you. But as always, thank you guys so much. And that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Everyone.